What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Drew YQ. Welcome to another episode of Winners Win Finance, and today we're going to be talking about the cash flow quadrant. You know, this is something I learned from the book Cashflow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. He's also very well known for the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. That is also the same book that got me into the finance space, as well as many others out there, and I think that they would agree that that was the book that really propelled them into the personal finance space. With this video specifically, I'm going to be covering the cash flow quadrant and what I've learned from that book specifically, what I think is useful, and anything that I've taken from that book. So go ahead, like, subscribe, comment below, for any future ideas. And without any further ado, let's get right into the video, guys. Alright guys, so the first thing I want to talk about when, concerning the cash flow quadrant is going to be like the purpose. Why is it important? Why do you guys need to learn about the cash flow quadrant? Specifically, this was a model designed by Robert Kiyosaki, right? He would say that his dad said there are 4 different types of people when it comes to money or business. And the cash flow quadrant is really great at explaining why some people can work, more and earn less. And a lot of these different inequalities in the workspace that we just don't understand. Personally, it opened my eyes to the world of taxes, right? Like why is it that some people pay more in taxes? Why is it that some people don't pay any taxes? And why is it that some people pay, a lot more than others? And just that, discrepancy, like I said, like what is this all about? Like, why are some people paying more in taxes? Why are some people working harder but not making as much? And it was really fascinating for me to just kind of learn about that. And Robert Kiyosaki does a really great job at explaining these 4 different types of people. The 4 different types of people that we're going to be talking about, we're going to be going really deep dive into each specific one. There's going to be, number 1, the employee, right? The employee, the guy that has a job, the guy that works for someone, right? Then we have S, small business, someone that has their own company, that does everything by themselves, takes on everything. They're their own business, their own product, but they're not that big yet, right? They do everything by themselves. They don't have a lot of employees yet, right? So that next space is going to be B, which stands for big business, okay? And this big business category is going to be very similar to the small business, but in big business, there is a lot of differences that qualifies them as a big business, and compared to a small business, there is a lot of differences, right? So we're gonna go really deep dive into what really makes a small business, what makes a big business, and lastly, what I have been trying to do myself is become an investor, which is the final quadrant, or the final corner in the cash flow quadrant. And I personally believe everybody should aspire to be in the big business or investor quadrant, which is on this side of these, this side of the spectrum, which is what a lot of people will say are the rich people, right? And a lot of the poor people are essentially going to be under the employee or small business spectrum, okay? And that's for a lot of reasons we're about to get into. But yeah, just know that the purpose of this is really just to know what is different between, why someone over here pays more, why does this one, pay more in taxes, and all of that discrepancy. Okay, so let's get right into, number 1, the different quadrants, and, getting more into the employee one, which is what we're going to start out with. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and talk about the first, sector in the cash flow quadrant, and that is going to be E. And E stands for employee, right? Whenever you're an employee, essentially an E works for the system. They're going to be typically they're going to be looking for financial security, safety, long term. They're going to be looking for financial success by climbing up the ladder, right? Slowly getting promotions and working up that ladder. They're going to be, someone who works in someone else's system but earns money, right? They don't own the system, but they work and they abide by someone else's system to earn their money, right? Very simple. A lot of times, being secure is just their response to fear. So, when it comes to the cash flow quadrant, a lot of this is going to be like their response to fear. The majority of employees, they're going to respond to fear in a secure way. They're afraid of not being secure. They don't like to take a lot of high risks, and stuff like that, right? They also, pay for taxes on their earned income. So anything they earn within this system that someone else owns, they will be, getting taxed on that earned income. And if you know anything about Winners Win Finance, earned income is the worst type of income, right? Because it is taxed very highly. Earned income, depending on how much you make, could be extremely high. So anyways, right, a typical employee will say something like,
I'm looking for a secure job with nice, colleagues and great benefits.
Right? They want that security, they want friends, and they want great benefits, right? So this is going to be the category that the majority of the population is going to fit in, right? The majority of the population are employees, right? Most people are in the employee quadrant, mainly because they are programmed from childhood. I was the same way. Whenever I was a kid, my family we didn't have a lot of money, we were middle class, we weren't completely poor, but we weren't rich, right? So we slowly got by, but my parents, programmed, you gotta work hard, you gotta be employed, you gotta work for someone, and this, that, or the other. So a lot of us are just programmed to be employees. Don't feel bad, if some of your parents are employees. We're all programmed to be employees. That's just how it is, right? So the majority of people are gonna fit in this sector. That said, children are taught not to take financial risks. Like, I was not taught to take anything risky. I was taught, stocks,
you're gonna lose all your money.
I was taught, credit cards,
you're gonna be in debt.
And all of this crazy stuff now looking, forward, now that I'm educated, is just like, it's really just ridiculous. Like, I don't understand why a lot of these employees and a lot of these people that are driven by fear get a lot of this information. It's almost like they never take the time to do their own homework, and they're so fear driven that they just hear this stuff and they just let it consume them. It's really sad. But yeah, children are not taught about starting their own business or investing. I wasn't taught about starting my own business. I was not even taught about investing. I didn't know anything about this, and I'm sure a lot of you guys out there started the same way. We had no idea what investing was. We had no idea, what saving money was, or, we didn't even think about building a business. So I think this is something a lot of people can relate to. I've been an employee for the majority of my life, and it's something that we all gotta just kind of take in, agree with. We've all been employees, and if you didn't start as an employee, you are way ahead of the curve. But the majority of us are gonna start as employees, and that's just how it is, which is gonna be the lowest of the totem pole. But anyways, let's just do a little, quick pros, cons. When it comes to being an employee, one of the pros is firstly, there is a reduced financial uncertainty, right? It's not as risky. If you're an employee, you have a guaranteed paycheck every 2 weeks that you can look forward to. It's not performance-based, you're guaranteed that much money per, 2 weeks or however much you get paid, right? Also, you get paid vacation, right? You get PTO. Paid time off. You get health insurance as well. And there's a lot of benefits of being an employee. It's just not risky, it's safe, you get benefits, just like I said earlier, right? And with the other quadrants, you're generally paid according to your performance, right? And as an employee, this is just not the case. You're gonna be paid hourly. Doesn't matter how good or bad you do, they're gonna pay you by the hour, which is kind of ridiculous when you think about it. If you pay me by the hour, I don't care how much you pay me, I'm going to try and put as many hours as I can to get the most amount of money. This could be a whole other video just talking about, getting paid hourly versus getting paid per project, right? If you want to get the most out of me, you're going to tell me, hey, look, how much does it cost to get this done? I don't care how long it takes. I'm not going to pay you by the hour, but if you can get this done, I'll give you $500. Well, guess what? I'm going to get that shit done in probably 30 minutes. It's going to look great, and I'm not going to drag along and try and get as many hours as I can so I can get paid more. Okay, so very simple, employee, the first sector of this cash flow quadrant we're going to be looking at. But yeah, let's go ahead and get on to the S, the small business people. All right, guys, so let's get into the next, sector of the cash flow quadrant, and that is going to be the S, which stands for the small business, right? Someone that has their own business typically is going to strive for control. They're going to usually they're usually going to be the people that, do it yourself. They're going to be those people that anything comes across, they're going to try and do it themselves. They're going to try and learn it themselves. They don't delegate anything, right? They're going to try and do everything they can by themselves because they're trying to save all the money they can for their business, right? So a lot of these, small business people created their own business just because they wanted to be their own boss, right? Being in control is their response to fear, right? So we talked about, the employee's response to fear is being secure and safe. When it comes to a small business owner, they're going to respond to fear the same way I do personally, which is that, being in control. They want to be in control. Whenever they're afraid, they want to be able to control everything. It's very simple to think about, right? That's why they do everything themselves. They want to be in control. They gain financial success by becoming highly specialized in a demanding field. So for example, if you take me, I've been in IT for about 7 years now at a Fortune 500 company. And if I, started my own small business, which I kind of did, with the guy who's editing this video, shout out Evan, we have, Mantra Networking, which is a consulting business just for networking. I didn't really do much with it, but what it was essentially was I am very specialized in a, very specific area that takes a lot of skill and there's not a lot of people that can do. And so I can make a small business because there's so much of a demand and there's no one else out there doing it. A lot of small businesses are around because they have something that not a lot of people can do and they're very skilled at it. That's just it, A lot of these people that own small businesses, they're going to say something along the lines of, I am looking for a job where I can be compensated well for my skills and time. I want to be in charge, right? So a lot of these small business people, they want to be in charge, and not only that, they want to be compensated for their skills and their time. Okay, so the employees, right? You think about the mindset. The employees don't care. They just want to get paid. Okay, small business people, they take pride. They want to be their own boss, and they demand that they get compensation for their skills and their time because they are so confident in their skill that they demand it. Like it's very different from an employee. Like an employee, a lot of those guys aren't as confident. Okay, so these small business guys, the majority of the small business guys are going to be some of the best employees. Some of your best employees are going to be like, screw this. I'm so good at this. Why am I stuck in this getting paid nothing when I can go start my own LLC for $300 and get paid 3 times as much as I'm getting paid now and have more fun and be my own boss? So that's a lot of the mentality when it comes to these small business people is, they get tired of being an employee and they just want to do it themselves because they have mastered that skill set, whatever it may be. It isn't about the money for this group. Money is a bonus and it's great, but what they really strive for is independence. And that's something where I completely relate to. I am trying to quit being an employee currently. I've been working for this company for 7 years and I'm trying to start my own small business. I've started a couple things here or there. And it's mainly because I strive for independence. I hate working under someone else. I have a great boss, absolutely fantastic. I love the dude, but I hate working under someone, right? And so this also comes down to just knowing yourself. Are you someone that likes to take orders, that likes to just, get a list of instructions and do it? Or are you someone that likes to make those lists of instructions and give it to other people? I personally hate listening. I can't listen to anyone, okay? You give me something, I'm not gonna listen. So I fit personally better as, a small business owner that is, giving employees tasks and telling them what to do, right? Self-employed people have to devote more time to their work if they want to earn more. So this is where I've been stuck in. I've been devoting so much of my time into trying to make a small business work. It's so hard because if you want to make more money, you just have to put more of your time in. And it becomes exhausting. Like I said earlier, these people are trying to do everything themselves. So you can already, expect why that becomes not very tolerable in the long term. Someone who's been in small business for a while, like myself, I've been stuck here. And to be honest with you, I've been stuck here because of my ego. I've been stuck here because, I strive for control. I strive for all of this like stuff in this sector. This is me. This was me for the last 2 or 3 years, and it's one of the reasons why I haven't been successful. I haven't been able to get out of the small business owner spectrum in the cash flow quadrant. And a lot of it, like I said, was ego. I was not able to delegate. I would try and like, okay, I'm tired of doing this. I'm gonna let someone else do this. And I would try and let them do it, but they would do something wrong or this or that. And I was a perfectionist. I would be like,
you have to do this, you have to be this way, you have to do this, that.
And so a lot of small business owners are the same way, exactly the same way that I was. But they never learn. They stay perfectionists. They stay trying to do everything themselves. They can't delegate work. And this puts them in a box. It really puts them in a box. And they can't ever elevate, When it comes to being a small business person, it's really just about doing everything yourself, being really good at something whenever you were an employee, but deciding that I don't want to work for anyone, so I want to do this myself. Another thing about, the small business owner sector is, believe it or not, I think this is the craziest thing. They pay the most in taxes in America.
Bruh.
So if you own a small business, a little, pop and shop, you are paying the most taxes in America. To me, that is just absolutely absurd, man. And this is also one of the reasons why I try and support a lot of small business owners, because it is a very hard gig, guys. It is a very hard gig. And you guys should, honestly, you should respect and support anyone that owns their own business, because like I said, this is not simple. It's not easy, okay? One of the things that we're about to talk about is they are not secure. It is not like an employee. They don't have a guaranteed paycheck every 2 weeks. They don't have this guaranteed security that employees have. Their pay and all this stuff really depends on how hard they work, okay? And that's why I respect people like this so much. I try and support local Texas, local San Antonio people as much as I can, because I respect those people as a small business owner, right? And if you're going to be a small business owner, you should respect others as well and give back, okay? But enough of this. This is going to be one of those sectors that I'm going to talk about the most. It is the hardest sector to get out of once you get there. And it is one of those sectors that a lot of people lose money and they get into this depression state and go back to being an employee. So I want to spend a lot of time when it comes to small businesses. I want to spend a lot of time here. I want to tell y'all it's possible. I want to tell you can do it. But it is going to be a grind. Okay, a lot of small businesses take 3 years to get started if they're lucky. Don't get discouraged, right? This is one of those things that, like, if you go from a pros and cons to this, right? The pro is you have control of your business's direction. You have control of like how much you want to charge. You have control of all of these other things that you didn't when you were the employee. Okay? So your mentality is going to be a lot different, I've been stuck in this mode for too long. I'm trying to get out of it. One of the cons that I actually hate is it's less secure, and you might even lose money, right? It's, self-employed, meaning I'm the only person in this small business, is the riskiest quadrant, okay? It's more risky than being an employee. It's more risky than being an investor or a big business. It's so risky. You're doing everything yourself. You have no one helping you. And there's so many reasons why it probably should fail, okay? So this is one of those quadrants that it really hits home for me, because I've struggled with this personally for the majority of my life. I've wanted a business, I wanted to make a lot of money, and I would start all these little small businesses, and I didn't know why the reason it didn't work was because my ego. I wasn't delegating enough, right? Like I wasn't giving other people opportunities to shine, I was being a perfectionist. I'm like, oh,
They didn't do it right. They didn't do this. They didn't. Oh, come on. What are you doing?
To actually elevate, you have to let go of that ego. Okay, you have to let go of that ego. A lot of those big business guys, when we're talking about that big business here soon, a lot of these guys are just going to be the people in the small business category that don't have an ego. They were able to delegate work and not only be okay with that, they encouraged those people. They kept pushing these people to do better, okay? And so this is why we're going to go ahead and talk about the big business sector. I'm not going to get into, the small business sector too much, but the main reason for small businesses failing is going to be one, experience. Okay, they don't have enough experience, and two, they don't have enough capital. Okay, so later on I'm going to explain, how we can get more capital and how we can get out of the small business sector. But without any further, let's go ahead and get into the big business part of the cash flow quadrant, and that's all we're going to talk about small business. Alright guys, so we talked about the S as in the small business, but now the next sector we're going to be talking about is B, which is going to be for the big business sector of the cash flow quadrant, okay? And so for the big business, they're typically going to, instead of strive for, like we talked about earlier with employees strive for what? They strive for safety. And S, they strive for what? Control. Okay, so what do the big business people strive for? And that is freedom. Big business people, they strive for freedom. Okay, so if you're like me and a lot of other people out there, I strive for freedom. I'm a Sagittarius. I hate being locked down. I just want to be free. I just want to be able to do whatever I want to do. So if that's you, this might be the sector that you need to fit in. Maybe you should start, thinking about businesses, and it doesn't have to be anything complicated that you can start, and eventually elevate to be a big business, okay? So these guys are going to gain financial success through creating a profitable business system, okay? So earlier we talked about how, employees, they work within a system, okay? So the big business people are going to create a profitable business system. Okay, so the employee works within someone else's system. Who invented the system is going to be the big business guy. Okay, the big business guy is going to be the guy that actually creates this profitable business system. Okay, and typically a big business owner is going to say something like, "I'm looking for people that are smarter than me to run my business for me." Take that in real quick. That's huge. That's so huge. I'm telling y'all that some of the biggest companies in the world, this is what they're saying. Last time we talked about SMB, small business. These guys do everything themselves, right? They're perfectionists, and they want to be completely in control. Okay, big business guys are completely opposite. Okay, and so this is something that I've been trying to learn slowly, and it's hard, but I'm getting better at it. Is being able to delegate everything. Delegate all of your work. Like, why should we work at all when we can delegate it to other people that are smarter and better than us? So when you're a big business person, one of the biggest differences between a small business person and a big business is the big business person delegates all the tasks, where else the small business person is going to try and do all the tasks themselves, and they're going to spend all this time doing all this work, right? Because they want to be in control. But the big business person doesn't care about being in control. They just care about being free. They want to do whatever the hell they want to do. So if they have to delegate work, they're going to delegate all of the work, okay? And this is something that was so beautiful for me when I learned it, because I had a hard time delegating work. I'm going to be honest with y'all guys. I am a perfectionist. Whenever I try to delegate work to people, I would get mad. I'd be like, "You're not doing it right. You're not doing this. You're not doing that." But what you have to do, like I said earlier, is you have to let go of that ego, let go of the ego, and let other people be a part of your system. Let them, do their part well and slowly grow into maybe what you're doing already. Okay, you don't just say they're not good at this. Don't make sure that like it's hard, right? But the thing is, the majority of time, whenever you are a big business owner and you hire someone else to try and delegate work, the majority of the time they're not going to do it right the first time. They're not going to be perfect the first time. Okay, and what I'm saying is, over time, you can slowly, train these people to be more and more like your expectations, okay? So don't be like a small business person and have these crazy expectations on the people they try and delegate work with. And whenever they don't meet those expectations, you just burn them and do it yourself, okay? Big business people are gonna be like, "Look, I'll take this, but you could have done better here, here, or here. And next time, I'm gonna make sure you do that, okay?" And that was something very, very important for me. I have a hard time with delegation. And so recently, I've been delegating all my work, okay? Back then, 5 years ago, I would be editing this video myself, okay? But I'm trying to delegate the work to my man Evan, because first off, I know he's probably better than me at it right now. And if I try to do this myself, it's gonna take a lot of time that I would rather put into just making more videos. So when it comes to delegating, you gotta think about your time over money. When we're talking about big business people, they get bigger tax breaks and pay way less in taxes than small business and employees, okay? So big business people are gonna pay way less in taxes. Let's just get that out of their way, okay? Some of the pros, you're gonna have, they have time-based and financial freedom quite quickly. So you can get financial freedom pretty quickly by being a big business owner. Actually, extremely quickly, right? You're gonna be more significant of a proportion as far as your profits go compared to a small business. So a small business, you're gonna get a little bit of profits here or there. If you're a big business, you're gonna get some serious profits, okay? You're gonna be doing, I would say, fairly well, okay? So being a big business owner, there's a lot of that. But one of the cons is, like, as with many businesses, there's always the possibility you can lose all your money, right? So big business, small business, a lot of people will like to compare them and say they're different. I like to say they're kind of similar. There's a lot of risk. There's a lot of risk if you're a big business that was successful as a small business and has been doing this for a while whenever you have more competition. And there's a lot of risk whenever you're a small business and you're trying to just start up and learn something and how this groove works. So there's a lot of risk when it comes to small business and big business. Way more risk than being just an employee, which is why the majority of people are employees, because fear. Fear drives people more than anything. So when you think about fear, the majority of people are going to be employees by default because the fear is going to put them in that role, okay? If you're a big business guy, you got to be kind of ballsy. To be honest with you, you got to be the guy that's going to tell other people unpleasant news. And a lot of people do not have the capacity to tell other people unpleasant news, okay? You're going to have to be able to say a lot of stuff that might not be the easiest thing, okay? So if you want to be a big business guy, you got to be able to put emotions aside. You got to be able to put, business aside and all this other stuff, and you just got to keep it real with the person. Whoever your employee is, whoever you would hire, you just got to keep it real. You got to tell them exactly why they're not doing the job. You got to tell them exactly what they could do to do better. And if they don't, then eventually you got to have to fire quick, right? Fire quick, hire slowly. Okay, plenty of people have said that, but I believe in that as well, especially when it comes into the big business sector, right? Some of the other things when you talk about, the big business sector, if we do an overview, being a big business owner also takes a different and broader set of skills than being an investor. For example, you have to lead effectively, okay? So if you're not a great leader, then you're probably not going to be a great big business owner. That's just the matter of fact, okay? I hate to say it, but that's just how it is. If you want to be a big business owner, you have to be a leader, and you're someone that everyone looks up to. If that's not you, it's all right. It's not a big deal, to be honest with you. It's not a big deal. If that's not you, if you're not a leader, if you can look at yourself and be that self-aware that you're not a leader, then you're probably going to be better for the investor sector, which is going to be the next part of the cash flow quadrant we will be discussing, okay? So just know that. It's not the end of the world. If you're not a leader, if you're not good in business, you can still be an investor. The big business owner quadrant is one of the best quadrants for becoming rich. This group of people owns the system or process where people work for them, okay? So they don't only just own the people that work for them, they don't own the employees, they own the actual system that these employees abide by, which is huge. And this is something that I said a minute ago, but it's the biggest reason why big businesses succeed and small businesses don't. It's because they have this process system in place that is just impeccable, and it's just a winning formula, right? So true big businesses, or Bs, right? They can leave their business for a year. They can go away for a long time and return to an even more profitable business than they were before. Because why? Because they have a system in place that guarantees more profit over time, okay? So when you're a small business owner, a lot of times if you're failing, you don't have a process in place that is succeeding, okay? You're doing everything yourself, you're struggling, you're making do, and you're getting by, but you don't have an A+ system in place to take care of all this stuff that you're struggling with already, okay? A lot of these Small business guys, they do everything themselves because they don't know what a system is. They don't know how to develop a system. They don't know how to put all of these procedures in place. True S's would return to a non-existent business, okay? An S owns the job, a B owns the system. Let me repeat that again. An S owns the job, a B owns the system, okay? It's very important to understand, okay? Robert Kiyosaki, he actually describes two different characteristics that big business people require, okay? So if you don't have these characteristics, then you probably should not try and strive and be in the big business sector, okay? But if you want to be in the big business sector, you gotta, number one, the ownership or control of the system. I'm gonna push this so much, guys. The system. You have to control and own the system of your business if you really want to be a big business and succeed, okay? Like a lot of small business owners, like I said, they don't have a system in place that is a winning system. So whenever they leave, the small business people, their business crashes because the small business people, their business depends on them. They don't have any system or process in place to delegate and help other people come in and take over for you, okay? Yeah, I think this is very important. Whenever you want to like elevate from an S to a B, you gotta delegate. You gotta be able to give other people work, and you gotta be able to leave your company without it relying on just you, okay? So that's going to be the big difference between small business and big business. Is the big business has a system that proves itself, that's been, over time, proven. And a small business has no system in place. They're just out here and, the wild, wild west, just trying to make do anything I can to make this happen, to make money. And it's just an absolute travesty in the long run, okay, guys? All right, so that's enough with big business. I hope you learned enough out of that, but let's get right on to my favorite category in the cash flow quadrant, and that's going to be the investor sector. Let's get right on to it, guys. All right, everybody, so let's go ahead and get into the last sector of the cash flow quadrant, and that's going to be the I, standing for investor. Okay, so what is an investor in the cash flow quadrant? So the investor also strives for freedom, just like the big business guy, right? They just want to be free. They don't want to have to worry about anything and do whatever they want to do. Okay, but unlike the big business owner, the investor gains financial success from allocating money where the money has the highest expected return. So the big business guy, he relies on his business to generate that income so he can be rich. An investor generates his income by putting his money into assets that generate more money, right? Very simple, okay? So they make money with money. If you want to be an investor, which I've recently got into more and more, I would like to consider myself an investor now because I make money with money. You could give someone $10,000, they might pay for their semester of college. You give me $10,000, I'm going to invest it, I'm going to make $100,000 off that $10,000. You just have to learn how money works, and you can make money with money. All right, it's kind of like that cliche, you have to make money to get money. It's not always true because I've made money being absolutely broke, but you can very much so make a lot more money if you have money, so it's easier, okay? But you don't have to have any money to make money, but it is a lot easier. The typical investor is going to say something like, I am looking for a place where my money can work for me in the most profitable way. So the investor only cares about where he puts his money and if it's going to make the biggest return possible. That's it, right? Nothing more than that. An investor does not have to work as their money works for them, right? They know how to make money. It's as simple as that. They make money work for itself. I have a lot of friends, their parents, I learned from them. I was like, how is this guy so rich? It's because, sure enough, the beach house we go to, he rents out the majority of the year and makes more money off that beach house than our 2 weeks we go visit the beach house, right? So he knows how to make money work for him. That is an investor, okay? To become genuinely wealthy, you one day have to become an investor, okay? I know a lot of people have a lot of money as even an employee. You can make a good salary. You could be a small business guy making money. You could be a big business guy making money. But if you really genuinely want to be wealthy, when it comes to wealthy versus rich, to me, it's all about taxes. The rich pay taxes, but the wealthy don't pay any taxes, okay? So if you want to be wealthy, not pay any taxes, you really need to start kind of moving into, just being an investor more than, starting your own business or anything like that. Personally, I was an employee. I was a very successful employee, and I was able to invest all of the extra money and bonuses into stocks and started investing, and it paid off in the long run. I honestly advise anyone else to do the same. So getting an education or saving money in a retirement plan is not considered as an investment. So a lot of people, when they think about the investment category of the Cashflow Quadrant, they're like,
oh yeah, I have 401k. I have a savings account. I'm investing for my future.
No, you're not. You're not, okay? Savings accounts right now don't even beat inflation, okay? And, your 401k, you're not going to be able to cash out till you're 65 when you're pretty much done with your life anyways, right? So we don't consider those as investments, right? Instead, the I quadrant is about investments that generate income on an ongoing basis, meaning cash flow. Investors really care about cash flow, okay? I love cash flow. I only care about cash flow. I only want money every month. I'm not going to buy some car and try and sell it a year later for some capital gains because I don't care about a year later. I want money every single month. So if I spend money on an asset and it doesn't make me money that month, it's not an asset, it's a liability. Go ahead and check out my asset versus liability video. You need to know what an asset is, and if an asset is not generating income every single month, then you are not an investor, because investors generate in cash flowing assets. It is possible to pay 0% of taxes in this quadrant, so investors don't pay any money at all, okay? Donald Trump, how does he not pay taxes? He is an investor. He invests the majority of his income into real estate properties that generate cash flow, and you can get a lot of tax benefits from those, right? Very simple. Don't really care about Trump, but he's a perfect example of how someone can pay zero taxes because he knows the game. This is all a game. He knows how to be an investor. That's all it is. You have to learn the game. If you don't want to learn the game, you're going to be an employee your whole life. You're going to pay a bunch of money. You're not going to make a lot of money, and you're going to pay them a lot of taxes, okay? All right, so let's go back into this pros, cons area. You can achieve financial freedom very quickly as an investor. You have all the strengths of being a big business without the limitations, all right? So it's very much like being a big business, but you don't have a lot of those limitations that, really force you to kind of combine around what being a big business really is. The business is that you're just an investor, in the company. So it's less of a commitment thing when it comes to that. You can also build a passive income stream. Okay? I said it earlier, no one cares about earned income. Earned income is for losers. Okay? If you really want to be a winner, aka winners win, you want to start investing in passive income. Passive income is where the majority of rich and wealthy put all their money. They want to make money in their sleep. They don't want to work at all, right? Big business and investors, they have two things. They have one thing in common. They want freedom. That's it. They just want freedom. As long as they're getting freedom, they're accomplishing their goal. Okay. And the con is, the only limitation of being an investor is financial uncertainty. If you're an investor, you could lose a lot of money. I could, invest into Zoom, this company, and it tanks the next day. So there's a lot of uncertainties, a lot of high risk. But if you're not risking anything, you're not going to make anything. Let's just get right to it. High risk, high reward is a real cliche that you need to understand. Okay? I didn't make any money when I wasn't risking anything. Didn't make a dime when I wasn't risking anything. Okay? Instead, I risked all of my money and put it in stocks, and now I've made double, way more than double actually, in stocks, and all my investments have paid off more than enough. Okay? So you guys can do the same. And I think this, if you can achieve being an investor in the cash flow quadrant, you're going to be so successful, and that's exactly where you should be. Okay? Let's go ahead and move on forward. I have, one last little tip I want to talk about in regards to the cash flow quadrant. All right, guys, so now that we have broken down each quadrant in the cash flow quadrant, you can essentially break down the quadrants into, two different sides, right? We have one side being the employee, small business, and we have the other side of the spectrum where we have the big business and investor, right? So if you split this cash flow quadrant right down the middle, on this side we have, AKA, the lower income or poor, right? Which is going to be the employees and the small business. And then over here with the big business and investors, we are going to have the rich and wealthier side of the spectrum. Now, the reason that we're going to differentiate between these two is because a lot of times the difference between an employee and a small business is that they are not taking advantage, of OPT and OPM. So they don't know what other people's time is. They don't know what other people's money are, right? I have an editor who is going to be editing this video. I am using his time by delegating, the editing portion of that work to him, right? So I'm trying to personally myself move out of this small business category and get into a big business and an investor. And I'm trying to learn how to delegate work, teach, my editor the processes and the stuff that I like in the videos, teach, anyone else that I work with my processes. And so I can delegate as much work as possible, and I can have that freedom, which comes along with being that big business and investor side, right? So, this really just suggests one of the drawbacks of being an employee in a small business, and that is that these people typically don't even get the opportunity to, use other people's money or other people's time, right? And it's really that's simple, if you want to be more successful as a small business person, you have to work harder, you're directly going to get, more money based on how much work you put in, how many hours you're putting in, right? If you want to become a big business owner, you can benefit from other people's time and other people's money. So if you want to move from the small business to big business, specifically focus on how can I use other people's time and how can I use other people's money, right? So this one's very simple. I'm not going to go, too deep in this one, but yeah, this pretty much going to be the end of the video. Go ahead, like, subscribe, comment below with any future ideas, and with that, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, guys.